Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've just heard the honorable member say the NHIF, where former members were enjoying, is no longer there. Madam Speaker, from where I sit, the honorable member is a sympathizer of Kenya Kwanza government. Is she trying to insinuate that SHA is not working or SHIF is not working? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Lachi.
Honorable Makali, you are a commissioner, a bigger sympathizer of government because you are a commissioner of this house under the government. And this arm is an arm of government. So there's no member of parliament who is a sympathizer of another arm of government. You should understand that. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I think what Commissioner didn't understand, I think I need to rephrase it. After our colleagues and most of us left, they formed a group. They went to NHIF. They negotiated for a package of health for families, very privately, but all of them are former members of parliament. And therefore, even if SHA is there, which it is there is a process they will have to go through for them to come back to have the same package they used to have. And that's why I'm saying it is important, if indeed we had this 13 years ago, Madam Speaker, then they would not have gone through all that to create a package for members who are colleagues, who are former, to get health cover. So what am I saying? That now this will assist every member of parliament that is here. That first of all, you'll get your pension, yes. But I will tell you the most important pension you need is health, Madam Speaker. Because we have seen, we are in a job where, Madam Speaker, everyone hates us. Sometimes I look at the young people here and you feel, because you know, Madam Speaker, you've come here, this is your third term. And I'll tell you, if our young members of parliament do not get pensions, and especially for health, even just getting employment is so difficult. And you know, in parliament, we've been very, very, I would say, very kind to ourselves, or very harsh to ourselves, Madam Speaker, that we create jobs for everyone, and we forget, and even we put a clause that says, if you have ever been a member of parliament, you cannot get that job. So now, Madam Speaker, our youths who have now come, what happens after they leave? I heard the majority leader in the morning giving an example of Toto. And you imagine, now she has started a family. What happens after? So this is one scheme I would tell the Commission, you are doing it, and we want to congratulate you and to thank you for thinking that. But I want us to go further and push through to ensure the health one works even before this. It is critical for those who will be leaving this house, because as Madam Speaker, you said, indeed people say you are coming. It is up to God to know whether you are coming. It will be a very, very small margin and very few people coming back. So as we continue even contributing, Madam Speaker, the other thing we must look at is our staff. I know they have their own health cover, but it's important to also look. It is very wrong also for staff to be in Parliamentary Service Commission, but still find themselves also with other challenges. So if indeed we are an arm of government like any other, you find that the judiciary, Madam Speaker, they take care of themselves. The executive, the CS, they take good care of themselves. We have reached a point in this 13th Parliament, Madam Speaker, I will tell you, we have refused to take care of ourselves. We have refused to appreciate we are also in a job group that you went out there and looked at. Yes, it is politics, but it's a job also you are doing for now, for 5 years, and then they will evaluate you and see whether you are coming back. Can we start taking care of ourselves from our food, from our catering? Can we have a wellness place of eating food that is of wellness, Madam Speaker, so that we stop these diseases that we are finding ourselves, diabetes, pressure, and all, just because we have refused to check the catering. Let us be honest and take care of ourselves. With those few remarks, I beg to support.
Member for Saku, Honorable Raso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this groundbreaking bill. Yesterday, the minority leader raised something also very important about the members of parliament, those who sit in this house and those who sit in the Senate. Honorable Speaker, the bill about pension is about the welfare of members, those who are here, those who have preceded us, and those who are likely to succeed us. Honorable Speaker, being a member of parliament is considered a prime job. You become unemployable immediately after you lose the seat. Or even if you don't lose the seat and you move away, you actually become unemployable. You are considered to be very wealthy. You are considered to have been on high salaries. That in Kenyan parlance, you call it super scale. So for that reason, you are not an ordinary citizen. And that is where all members who pass through this house must understand whether you are a fresh man or woman, or whether you are a 3-term or a 4-term member. Madam Speaker, pension or pensioners, as you retire or you lose a seat, your income is reduced. Your friends also are reduced. When we are in this house, we have very many friends that your phone is jammed. But as soon as you lose the seat, actually nobody bothers to even greet you on the street, because people know that maybe you have a bank loan, you want to ask for assistance. Even lawyers, as you approach them, because your mortgage has run out, you want the firm of lawyers that normally call you, if you approach them, they are very reluctant to even take your call, let alone assisting you pro bono, because you used to sit in this house. Madam Speaker, they say health is wealth. I think the 4 bills that we have passed in this house about the universal health care, the SHA and the SHE. One thing we as a house, we must stand on our feet to make sure that Kenya has a good health system. A good health system that will not just serve this generation, but for posterity. Today, what is making the life of Kenyans as we go around, it's not really food. People will complain about a lot of things. But the most expensive thing is healthcare. When we sit in this house, I'm sure when you scroll through your phone, the message that you are likely to get is about death in a hospital or a death in on a hospital bed. And that is how important or significant it is. No one will raise funds for a former member of parliament. That is what we must understand. And that is why this bill is really important. Finally, and most importantly, Madam Speaker, is housing of the pension scheme under the Parliamentary Service Commission. They say East-West home is best. The members who leave this house, their best house of call, or the first house of call, will be the Parliamentary Service Commission if they are really in trouble and they need help from Parliament or from their colleagues. So for that reason,
Very well said. Member for Moyale. Are you on this one? No. Honorable Sigay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this very important amendment bill. Madam Speaker, on the onset, I would like to thank the sponsor of this bill, Dr. Makali Muli, and those who started earlier to move in this direction. Madam Speaker, I want to support particularly the alignment of this bill to the Constitution, because for a long time, the act has been obsolete almost. And Madam Speaker, this is high time. I call this bill, Madam Speaker, a bill of life and death. It's a serious bill, Madam Speaker. When you look at the former MPs who come to our area, you look at the way they are, those who are at home, Madam Speaker, you sympathize. And this is the reason why we support this motion. I want to also support the suggestion that this bill, the insurance should be domiciled in the Parliamentary Service Commission. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion. One of the areas which we have a problem is mainly medical cover. And Madam Speaker, I've had an experience because at one time I also retired and we had a very difficult time, but we had NHIF to support us. Madam Speaker, I know if we can have share as a new medical cover, it will support this nation. Madam Speaker, I want to end by saying, while we are supporting ourselves as members of parliament, I need to bring in the issue of national treasury. Many a times, Madam Speaker, we have a problem of supporting our teachers. The cases we have now, Madam Speaker, is the delay in processing the pensions of our teachers. I have about 20 cases. Teachers come to Nairobi here, Madam Speaker, to follow their pension. And it takes eternity for these people to get their pension. We would like also to appeal to National Treasury to reform the way they are processing the pensions for our teachers. They are suffering. And most of them are dying because they cannot get their pension. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion and urge this House to really move in and support. And I want to also emphasize that we are paying for this pension as members of parliament. And nobody out there, because I think we should also ask our people to change their minds out there, the attitude they have for this House. They take members of parliament as enemies. They always talk negatively about members of parliament. We would like our people to change. We are making this country a country to live in, and we are very happy, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, that we are moving in this direction, and I want to support this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Kinangop.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to give my contribution to this very important bill by my colleague MP for Kitui Central. And Madam Speaker, from the word go, I want to support the same for one simple reason, that one, we are 14 years late to aligning this act with the realities that are in our constitution. And Madam Speaker, you realize that when it comes to matters to do with parliament, it becomes very difficult for us to actually debate or even legislate, because we are perceived by the public out there as if we are legislating for our own and to benefit ourselves. And it's a cardinal rule, Madam Speaker, even as you serve food at home, being a mother like you are, Madam Speaker, you do not serve everybody else and not serve yourself, so that then that you're not perceived to be selfish. And I think it is right for this parliament to just act right. Despite the noise, people will always make noise whether we do the right thing, whatever it is that we do, there shall be some level of resistance from the voters, and because we run offices that are very competitive. Madam Speaker, I have taken keen interest just to look at how other arms of government deal with themselves. And I can tell you for sure, one of the arms of the government that we sit in, that is the legislature, is completely bastardized and does not seem really to be seen. It is not perceived by the public out there as if there's anything good that can come out of this house. We have had members of parliament who've sacrificially served their constituents for many years in this house. But after they have left, they're living in desolate states. They cannot take care of themselves, because by the time you leave this house, three things will have happened. You'll have lost your wealth, you'll have lost your health, you'll have lost your friends. That being the case, Mr. Speaker, we must not lose ourselves. We may lose everything else, but never lose ourselves.
But unfortunately, due to the accident that he suffered in the course of that year, in the course of that time, he was not able to move this bill. But I want to thank the Honorable Makali for indeed doing a very important job for the members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, at the outset, I would like to make it very clear that this bill is not intended to add any benefits to the member of Parliament. And those who may want to write this story should read the memorandum and of the objects and reasons for this bill. The reason for this bill, Madam Speaker, is to align the Parliamentary Pension Act, Cap 196, with the new constitution. As you know, Madam Speaker, the Parliamentary Pension Act only makes reference to the National Assembly. It does not refer to the Senate. Yet we know, right now, as we speak, we have a bicameral house. So the Honorable Makali Mulu is seeking to align this bill with the 2010 Constitution. Madam Speaker, I want to speak about two very important things with regard to this bill. One, this bill is very important because it sets out in clear terms what the pension scheme would entail. As we align it to the new constitution, we are seeking to remove those areas which causes discrimination and which runs afoul to Article 27(4) of the Constitution, which says no person should be discriminated on the basis of anything. Madam Speaker, as you know, the Parliamentary Service Commission, which is our employer, runs a pension scheme for members of staff, which is domiciled within the Parliamentary Service Commission. Now, with regard to members of Parliament, the other section, the other half of the employees is run in the executive arm of government. Madam Speaker, we must sort out that anomaly. And I would like to request the Honorable Makali Mulu to come up with an amendment to domicile the members of Parliament parliamentary scheme within the Parliamentary Service Commission, so that we do not need to go to the executive to sort out our matters. All our matters should be resolved in-house here. Madam Speaker, you can imagine when we returned, you know, Madam Speaker, I was retired in 2017. So when I was going to look for my gratuity, I was told from one floor to the other. I was told, go to floor number 7 in Treasury Building. Then I was told, no, not this one here. Go and look for somebody in floor number 12. So I go to floor number 12 and I was told, no, go to floor number 9. So, and you know, we are totally frustrated at that time. You've been thrown out, you are without money, and you're hoping that you can get something. Madam Speaker, if this scheme was domiciled in Parliament, in the Parliamentary Service Commission, I would just walk over to the offices, and we know it. Why should we be sent to a place where we have not worked? I'm not a member in the executive. The second thing that we must ensure that this bill provides is the question of the post-retirement medical scheme. Madam Speaker, we have very many schemes here. We have the mortgage scheme, we have the loan scheme, we have many schemes. Why don't we have this scheme, which is beneficial to members? And we are saying it's going to be contributory. We are not asking anyone to give us money. We just want a platform to be provided for us so that we can contribute this money. When we retire, we're able to enjoy medical facilities like we were doing before. And we know of many other institutions which do that, Madam Speaker. And finally, Madam Speaker, if you can give me just 1 minute with regard to this issue. Establishment of a pension scheme in this side to be done.
I'll give you 1 minute because you're a former commissioner.
Yes.
1 minute.
You know why I'm passionate about it being established within the Parliamentary Service Commission? When I was a CEO of CAK, at that time CCK, a very small institution with 130 members, we had our own pension scheme. And what we used to do is to invest money that was not immediately payable to those people who have retired in various interest-earning securities. Madam Speaker, as we speak, this money is paid to the consolidated fund. There is no investment. My money just remains the way it is. we want it to come to the Parliament Service Commission so that we can have an enhanced pension scheme as a result of good policies of investing our monies in good, for instance, maybe treasury bills when it is earning more interest, so that we can get more, Madam Speaker. As it is, we continue to get very little because our money is tied in the consolidated. I want to thank you and I support.
Thank you. Honorable Sirma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute. Madam Speaker, I have gone through these circles on pensions and being retired and coming back again. Madam Speaker, I want to pay tribute to Makalu Mulu for doing a good job. I also want to remember the first person who brought independence to this parliament. Madam Speaker, many of you do not know how much a member of parliament as an individual in terms of, I have seen members whom I was here for 15 years, I went out for 10 years, and I have seen all. You can be happy when you are here, but once you are out, it is a problem. I also want to talk about the people who have made those members who are outside a bit comfortable. Dr. Njuguna, the former member of Gatanga, who created FOPA with other members. I also became a member, and I'm still a member, because everybody is either a former or current, or a prospective former member. So I want to tell you, it is time you made that decision now. And it is either you do it, or you wait and see the vagaries of this world, how they will treat you. Madam Speaker, Parliamentary Service Commission, we have people of integrity who will be able to stand there. And Madam Speaker, I wish one time I should serve under that so that I am part of those people who have had the history of this house. And if we are able to get our money from ourselves and keep it and invest the way others pensions invest, even this government would not be going out of the country to borrow. They would be borrowing from the pension schemes within Kenya. And they run the government. I can assure you, it is time that Parliament stood up for itself, and members of Parliament look at themselves on the eye and say, it is our time, because nobody has any interest with you after you leave the gates of this house. I decided not to come to this house, even to visit a friend. When I was out, I decided it is the people who have decided I'm not in Parliament. So I did not come for 10 years. But finally, I am back. So I want to tell you, if you would be having such a principle like me, because I had no other business, the pension was out of Parliament. But if it is now in Parliament, I will be coming to look for my pension here if there is a problem. So I want to say, members of Parliament, think about yourself, think about those whom you leave behind, and look at those people who have retired. And I want to say, I hope, I have not read the whole bill, but Makalu, the former members of Parliament who are languishing in poverty should be taken care of and even given a send-off, because they went with nothing I saw a person who had 15 years here. He has nothing, even a car. Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Makueni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also contribute to this very important bill. And I wish to thank the Member of Parliament for Kitui Central, Dr. Makali, for bringing this. I feel privileged because I've just come and it has just come. For the first time in this Parliament, I'm very happy to talk about our welfare. Since I've been here for the last 2 years, I've never had anything or any point or any bill that was discussing our welfare. So I wish to thank Dr. Makali very much, and I actually appreciate, because the major thing here we are doing with this particular bill is sustainably manage our resources in a manner that it can take us to the next world. And I think that is a very wise idea. So I really sincerely congratulate him, and I hope we actually support this bill. I'm in particular very much impressed by the fact that we will need to move our pension to be managed by the Parliamentary Service Commission. Because that way we can actually have our independence beyond this parliament, and it will actually ensure a smooth exit even when we are outside there and you actually need your pension. So I really want to applaud the Member of Parliament, and we really appreciate that. But this also brings us to another major question, which I think we can actually also discuss. I've had a member here saying, for us, because one of the major things is the issue of health. And we know what happens as you advance with age. And I really liked the advice that people told us to go to gym and be healthy and we eat well. That's a very good point. But one other stressor which we are getting, which I think as we reflect on this bill is also taken in consideration, is our dues. You realize nowadays you can have a headache of even mileage. It comes when it wants to come. And I wonder, isn't that stressing our members? As we look at welfare when we retire, I think the welfare when we retire depends on the welfare as we work. So I think those with the responsibilities of taking care of our welfare here, they need also to prioritize it. Because, you know, I'm a member of parliament with the 7 wards who want services. My constituency money stays and stays until everybody is giving me a headache, and you expect me to have very good retirement. I think those also who are taking our welfare here, let's not concentrate on welfare when we're out of this parliament. We will have our welfare taken care of. Even those who are responsible here, they make sure our welfare is taken care of, because that will also determine at what state we will exit this particular house. Honorable Speaker, as we talk about this issue of pension for ourselves, which I think is very important, I think we realize we have a big problem with our pension system. And I wish we could also investigate and find out, what do we do with the issue of pension, because it's becoming a thorn in the flesh. Very many other Kenyans are dying without seeing their pension. And I wonder, what kind of punishment with this? I one time watched Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, and he shared something which I think is a concern to me. I also thought when we make a contribution, the money is kept separate. And I had government money just goes in cycles. And I realized your money can get stuck there and you die without anything. So I think this is very strategic, and I think we should actually also try to see how we can also explore for the rest of the Kenyans. See how can this pension be managed in a manner that people benefit from it, because that, Honorable Speaker, that was the intended purpose on the pension. So with those few remarks, I support the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Samburu East, Honorable Kumontare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to support this bill. And Madam Speaker, the retirement of members of parliament is not natural. And in fact, Madam Speaker, when somebody leaves parliament, it is not just because of age. You are forced to retire. And I think it is very important, Madam Speaker, our tomorrow is being prepared today. And it is good you have this plan so that when maybe you are not in a position to do what you usually do, then you have something to support yourself and even the people who still depend on you. Madam Speaker, leaving Parliament is something I really don't know what to say, because you find young people leaving Parliament, they have served for 2 times or 3 times, and then you leave. It still means you have duties to perform. You have your lovely ones to serve. So this bill, Madam Speaker, is very important to members of Parliament. And I think the purpose of pension is to protect and serve you after you have lived the service. That is the whole essence of the pension scheme. And this is your money that you only have to plan so that you'll have all the needs you have to attend after you leaving the Parliament. And Madam Speaker, it is very important, and it is a good idea to bring the pension of members of Parliament to Parliamentary Service Commission. Madam Speaker, people who are retiring, they are suffering in this thing called the Bima and all that thing. And I think it is even very important for us to look at maybe those people. Madam Speaker, teachers who have taught our children for very many years, those government officers, they are suffering, looking for their pension. And I think this house also, we have to look at that other act, because somebody leave their service and you continue suffering for very many years. I want to challenge these people who are the ethics and anti-corruption people. They really need to know what is going on in the pension areas. Because, Madam Speaker, we are members of Parliament and even we interact with these people. Sometimes they come to you that they need money to facilitate their money to be given. That is a very bad thing, Madam Speaker. And I think when this one goes to the Parliamentary Service Commission, I think it will be a good thing. And we really want to help our people who are retiring to get their money without struggling. And I don't know why documentation takes time. Why can't they tell people to bring their documents and file so that when somebody goes or leaves service, they don't struggle again? You are told to bring, I don't know which payslips, and they have all the records. That's a thing we really need to look at, and I want to support this bill. It is very good, and it is very important for us to have that scheme so that after you leave the Parliament, you don't struggle. This is the time we have to prepare our tomorrow. Thank you. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Dick Maungu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity given so that I may also be able to support and comment on this very, very progressive bill. Allow me to start by appreciating the Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu for having thought it good to actually bring such an amendment on such a progressive bill. Madam Speaker, retirement is something that is there to stay, and at one point in time, we must exit. Just like in public service, people exit at the age of 60 years. But this being a unique house, Madam Speaker, people exit as early as 30 years, as early as 20-something years, depending on how long they've served and depending on how the people have found it fit. And therefore, it is important that we come up, this bill comes out to structure or to have a way in which members' welfare can be taken of, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, out here, there's a negative mentality that members of parliament are very rich, members of parliament are very greedy, members of parliament are self-seeking yourself. And I think it's just important to know that members of parliament are mortal just like any other person. And therefore, what affects members of the public will equally affect a member of parliament. I've been here for 2 years, Madam Speaker, but at times I meet former colleagues in the corridors here, and it is not very encouraging. These are members who served in this house maybe for 10 years, 15 years, and even 5 years, Madam Speaker. But the kind of life they live is like they never served this house, Madam Speaker. They never serve the public. And therefore, the pain and anguish that these members go through is quite horrible. And I think we stand at a point in history to rectify this anomaly, Madam Speaker. Because these members served in this house diligently, they served their people and served the nation. But it is wrong for them to continue.
even after leaving parliament, you carry that title with you.
when it's really needy to the members of parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable North. Honorable Pareyo.
uangalie mambo ya maslahi sana hii mswada sana hii mswada sababu inaongea mambo ya
Point, Honorable Speaker, which has come out.
Take care of that. Death gratuity takes care of that, of the family, of all members, whether male or female. When you look at structures, clause 14 to clause 16, the pension committee, the membership must therefore change because now we have two houses of parliament. So if the speaker is one side, the other speaker of the two houses must be there. So again, it is just structure. If you look at tribunal, again, the tribunal must take into consideration that there are two houses of parliament, so that the membership is also the same.
I thank you. You know, I have a lot of respect. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 97, as read together with Standing Order 87. Madam Speaker, I respect the Honorable Nyikal, but seeing the interest in this bill, it affects all of us. If you see, everybody has locked in. If we were to take 10 minutes each, we will not be reached, Madam Speaker. And the reason why we have all come here is so that we can contribute and we can say something. Would I be in order, Madam Speaker, to request you to reduce our contribution time from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, so that each one of us can have an opportunity to say something with regard to this bill that affects all of us? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
In fact, I'll be proposing probably 3 minutes.
After.
Yes. Okay. 5 minutes. Okay.
Well, I'll also,
I think the House
I'll also end a few minutes earlier in recognition of what my colleagues are saying. But Madam Speaker, I was just saying that it is just structures. Even if you look at the audit, it is the issue of structures. The last thing I'm saying is actually about the medical insurance scheme. This post-retirement process, actually, we must take it very seriously, because medical insurance, actually, if you go after 65, you can't get into a new medical insurance. So if we now start at this point, particularly we can link it with the current insurance, and so that post-retirement insurance for members of parliament are linked to this one. Together with that contribution, it may go a long way in helping us after we retire. With that, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Gilgil, Martha Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I also want to support the bill and actually note that it is a surprise that we did do this sooner, because after the promulgation of the Constitution, we should have already aligned it with the Constitution. But it has come at the right time. Allow me to pick just a few issues, because the issues have been canvassed. Number one, to the mover, there is an issue you have spoken about, retirement on medical grounds. I would like to confirm that it also includes people living with disabilities, those who join with disabilities, and also those who get disabled when they are serving. I say that because if you remember Honorable Denita Gati, the former Migori women rep, we joined with her in 11th Parliament. She was well, but in 12th Parliament, she was a PWD. So this provision on on Article number 9 should also include PWDs, so that if you want to retire on medical grounds, the PWD aspect is also considered a medical ground, so that if you get the disability when you're serving, or even when you join when you're serving, you have that leeway to be considered at that point. And I also want to agree, Madam Speaker, that the issue of widows and widowers has been discriminatory, and I have said it's because, first of all, it was not ensured that women could serve as members of parliament, but it is very important that both spouses are included. It's also true, as Honorable Nyikal said, that statistically, the men live shorter lives. They have a shorter lifespan, generally, than women. But it's also because men usually have a backup plan, Madam Speaker, and not many stay widowers. In fact, there are very few who stay widowers. The moment their wife dies, it doesn't take long. Within a year, and you look around, even bishops, every kind of men in this country, they won't finish a year, they'll have another wife. But we have so many widows that actually are left to watch their children until they're adults. So I think that was the relationship. But I think times have changed, and we are here, and widowers should be included as widows and given the same rights, Madam Speaker. It has also helped to reduce conflict in families, because when you write that person, when you are doing your paperwork, then all the others that have been canvassed by Honorable Chepkonga, and he said clearly, members of parliament have no mipango ya kandos. But if they happen to be there, Speaker, when you're just at the end, in fact, your supporters, even when they know you're going to lose, they will tell you to take a loan somewhere so that you finish this thing, and they know you're going nowhere. So when you lose, Madam Speaker, you lose, you have a loan, you have auctioneers on your door, and sometimes that's why you get members going for their gratuity, because they are desperate. So I think getting this option becomes very important on post-retirement medical scheme. You have a choice to contribute, and I think what Majority Leader has said is also very important, so that when you are able to, it is not so much to contribute 10,000, 20,000, so that at the end of your term, and all of us, Madam Speaker, I mean, the statistics that we've had is that the turnover of parliamentarians is 70%. You'll be very lucky to come back to this house. In fact, when you join this house, your chance of going home is about 70%. All of us are actually queued to go home. Only a few of us have been lucky to do 1-2 consecutive terms. So it is important that instead of begging, when you're out and begging your colleagues, trying to raise some small monies for small procedures in the hospital, you can be able to do that when you can. And this will help us a big deal, Madam Speaker, to give us an option to do that contribution. And when you are out there and you have issues of medical care, you will not have to call a harambe, because not many people will, first of all, contribute to a member of parliament. You cannot call a harambe in your backyard. It is not possible. You have to come to this house to beg people who understand what you're going through to contribute to you, Madam Speaker. It's the same thing when you lose that even the traffic to your house just cuts off, Madam Speaker. So this will help us to cushion ourselves in terms of getting medical care, and it will go a long way to ensure that we are taken care of, and rightfully so, and not from the public coffers, Madam Speaker, but from own contribution that we make from our salaries, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill, especially for those young, first-time members of parliament. Madam Speaker, once upon a time, a one-term member of parliament used to be pensionable. But in the year 2000, through this bill called the Omnibus Bill, the then Attorney General wrote a bill at the wee hours of the night. And I can assure you, by the time we passed, the following morning, we all got our refunds, and the member of parliament who was pensionable was just reduced to a member without pension. Madam Speaker, you also realize that we promulgated the current constitution in August 2010. This bill should have been one of the first bills actually to be passed, to be aligned with the constitution. What has happened? 13 years, 14 years, it's because of the fear of the unknown. Madam Speaker, when you become a member of parliament, first of all, whether you lose your professional ethics, you lose everything that you have earned over the years as a professional before you join politics. Now, what remains in this difficult world of politics, Madam Speaker, is just like the other state officers. Ask yourself, why is the member of parliament, who is a state officer, treated differently by SRC, by Treasury, by anybody else, Madam Speaker? It's simply because members of parliament fear the world outside there. I want to ask you, when you are first elected, the assumption is you are the most powerful. The assumption is you are the most popular. The assumption is you are the most handsome. The assumption is you are the most beautiful. The assumption is you are everything. So when you come here, you lose all those identities. You live here minus your husband. You live here minus your wife. You live here minus your health. You live here minus your wealth. You live here minus your popularity. And I can tell you, by the time you exit there, you will be a pound, you'll be a nobody. So you'll be regretting outside there and say, I wish I did this. I wish I did this. You have an opportunity. Don't fear. You are a state officer. You have the same constitutional entitlements like any other state officer pursuant to the current constitution. Why have you not passed this? I am a member of the committee, the finance committee, that will be bringing amendments. And I can assure you, we have put in place the best brains. I don't want to prejudice. We product out of this. We are consulting the PSC, Parliamentary Service Commission. We are consulting the pension department. We are consulting the best brains within the parliamentary legal system so that we refine this bill in the next stage, including giving the member of parliament treatment that befits not only other state officers, but as an elected leader who has served one of the best institutions called the Augusta House. When those amendments come in your share numbers and support it, because that will secure your life after this Augusta House. I always say, if you come to this place with the assumption that you are a potential former member of parliament, you will do well. But if you come here with the assumption that you have reached and you are everything, I can tell you, the term will be 5. So all of us are potential. The definition as a serving member of parliament is, I am a potential former member of parliament, because the electorate tomorrow can ask you exit. So what is there for the outside? What is there for you in the outside world? Madam Speaker, we are solving some of the definitional problems. Definitional problems because the current, it's called the National Assembly Pension Act. But we have a bicameral house. It has taken us 13 years to harmonize this. Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame, members, that we have taken 13 years to domesticate a bill that touches on none other than one of the 3 arms of government? It is. Why have we not done it? Because we fear. But time has come. It is today. The other bit, Madam Speaker, a critical thing, and I am glad that you have alluded to this, and I want to really ask for some few more minutes, is the issue of voluntary post-retirement benefit. I don't want to mention names, and my brother here, I think he has left. Some of the best brains from
we can have this crop scheduled.
Itanibidi nizungumze kwenye njia ambayo italeta utata kidogo. Tukiangalia katika kila sehemu ama kila region, watu wanufaika kwa miti ambayo yatokamana kule kwao. Mfano tukiangalia kahawa, watu wa kutoka sehemu hiyo, serikali inafanya juhudi kuangalia itaweza vipi kuwasimamia na wao waweze kuendelea. Avocado katika sehemu nyingine wanaendelea vile vile. Tukiangalia Narok County Council ama Narok County Government yanufaika kutokamana na mbuga za wanyama ile ambao ziko kule Masai Mara na zile nyingine. Sisi Kilindini kunufaika na mti wetu ni bandari. Bandari haijatunufaisha vile tunavyohitaji. Tunahitaji serikali ingilie kati kuona sisi bandari tunaweza kupata manufaa kama natural resource ama mti unaomea kwa nguvu ya Mwenyezi Mungu ambao ametupatia hayo maji. Na vile vile mti huu wa mrangi uweze kutuenua kama vile vile watu wa majani chai, kama vile watu wa kahawa, kama vile watu wa maavocado. Lakini leo wakifanya biashara kisawasawa, akiingia hata nyumbani anapata heshima ambayo itakuwa iko sawasawa, kwa sababu anajulikana, analeta mahitaji yake ya kusomesha watoto na kila kitu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama niunge mkono ili nipatie nafasi wenzangu pia nao waendelee kuchangia. Asante kunipa nafasi hii. Asante sana.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Diwa, are you on this one?
And thank you. Right away, I support this bill, Crop Amendment Bill number 8. (2023) and say could it was Tandaza. What did I say? Tandaza.
Umesema tangaza.
Oh boy. My apology, Tandaza. But see, when people started growing this crop in 70s, those people had and they don't need pesticides. Uses input in farming. That means that even farmers will
you.